This is Mary Conley Eggert, founder of Global Waterworks. I'm thrilled to be here with Tom Koulentes, who is principal of Libertyville High School, right next door to us, in the place that my husband goes every day. I wore my gear here,
I
Libertyville
love
High
it.
Spring.
Wildcats. I'm going to adjust my blinds here. I'm noticing a little bit of a, there we go. There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, you're crystal clear. And Tom,
Perfect.
you've created such a great vibe at the school. I know you're very inclusive, appreciative of every different area, and shepherding that whole place so well. I'm just curious, you noted your keen interest in environmental sciences and the work that the Ecos Club is doing when we first brought up the Lake Lover program. And I'd love for people to hear what started your interest in the environment and support.
Um, yeah, I grew up a kid who was always outdoors camping and hiking and things, but I didn't get a real appreciation for nature until I was in my early 20s and had the good fortune to live in Costa Rica for a period of time. I was there on a sabbatical. I was able to live in the rainforest, and I became fascinated with plants and how they have to solve really like challenges that we as human beings have to solve, but they can't move. They don't necessarily have vision the way we think of vision. They can't talk the way we think of speech. So how did evolution through evolution did plants figure out how to solve all these challenges that we as humans solve in very different ways? And that really started my fascination with plants and the whole interconnection, the ecology side of nature. And then really learning about the Gaia movement and Earth being like a living being and living system, and all the parts of that interconnected. I think that's why I like being a principal too, because I like systems and thinking about how systems work. And a public school is certainly a system, and nature in its most pristine form is also a system. And trying to learn about that, understand the interconnections, was really what drove my curiosity and fascination.
Right, and you actually established your own little system in your home, or maybe
That
it's
is
right
correct.
outside your home, the aquaponics. Can you describe that and how you set that up?
Yeah, I am an avid gardener, and I got to a point where my yard was. I felt like I had done everything I could do with my yard, but I still wanted to garden. And I have a little bit of a mad scientist tinkering element to me, and I learned about aquaponics as a potential design to help with food scarcity and to bring high quality foods to places that don't have high quality agriculture. And I saw aquaponics on an industrial scale in the city of Chicago, and began to think about, well, what would that look like on a residential scale? And kind of through some research and then through YouTube, I found actually home-based aquaponics is extremely popular in Australia, and there are many videos on YouTube of Australians who are teaching how to build and design your home aquaponics system. So I began watching those videos, paying close attention to their designs. I had a notebook and I would chart down everything that I would see. And that inspired me to try to create my own home based aquaponics system. So after I got my design in place, I set out to build it. My goal was to create healthy greens and also to raise fish, which is why it's aquaponics and not hydroponics. So I chose to raise yellow perch, and because a piece of that is you could do aquaponics in Illinois, but a lot of people associate aquaponics with tilapia.
Right.
If you're going to raise tilapia, tilapia in Illinois is an invasive species. So if you're going to do home-based aquaponics, you would and you're going to raise tilapia, you would have to have the IDNR come out and inspect your system. And that is very laborious and also a little bit threatening, because if you don't handle your tilapia well, you can be fined by the IDNR for not handling an invasive species properly. And your system needs to be regulated and all this stuff. So I wanted to avoid all of that. I'm an amateur and not a professional, and I wasn't doing this to to earn money. So I realized that yellow perch are a native species. Yellow perch do very well in aquaponics, and so that's why I chose to raise yellow perch instead of the tilapia. And arguably, especially for those of us raised in the Midwest, yellow perch is a much more preferable fish to eat than tilapia are. Um, Oftentimes, yellow perch are considered the tastiest of the panfish. So anybody that's been to a Wisconsin fish fry will know that. Um, but I then built my aquaponics system, and while one part of it was the food production, the greens and the fish, the other part was the environmental piece. And I wanted to create a system that would be a model of uh, environmental kind of friendliness and responsibility. So the idea was I'm raising food in a way that is not only healthy, but is also in line with uh, principles of environmental sustainability. And so this became a big engineering project. It became a biological project, like how do you keep fish alive, and it became an agricultural project. How do you raise plants and and greens in an aquaponics environment?
Wow, wow, fascinating. So the fish are flowing below, the plants are benefiting from the excrement of the
Yeah.
fish,
Yeah,
and
in theory, aquaponics is fairly simple, right? You feed the fish eat the food, they poop and pee, and that goes to the plants. The plants take that water, they pull the nitrates and nitrites out of that. They use that to grow healthy root systems, and they flourish from all of the product of the fish. But then when the water returns to the fish, the plants have completely cleaned it. So you have a self-sustaining system of fish creating food for plants and plants creating fresh water for the fish. Um, my system was all based on gravity. And we can um, later on, I think Global Waterworks may do a small little webinar where I show my system in detail and my designs. Um, Someone who has experience with aquaponics might be able to uh, see a lot of flaws in my design. This was my first system, and I certainly learned the hard way some of the mistakes that I made. But at the end of the day, my system worked when was self-sustaining for 4 years. The only reason it's been shut down was I moved houses and I needed to take my system apart, and I just haven't rebuilt it in my new system. But I built the whole thing with Home Depot products. Everything was purchased at a local Home Depot. All the piping, all of the wood, and all of the water, or excuse me, the water filtration systems that I used. Um, the fish were bought from a local fishery in Indianapolis called Jonas Fish. They sell stock fish, and
yeah,
yeah.
great. How many fish fries did you have out of those?
Well, here's the problem. I bought 20 fish and I raised them. And you can raise a yellow perch can go from about 4 inches to about 8 to 9 inches in about a summer. So you can get them pretty good to that point. I wanted them to be bigger, so I overwintered them. They lasted through the winter. I got all my perch up to like over a foot in length, and became very attached to them, and then just couldn't harvest them. So it became a decorative piece for me because I just didn't have the heart to pull the fish out and
Well,
harvest them. So when I shut down the system, though, the fish were given away to friends and neighbors. I just couldn't bear
mhm.
eating them, who I'd become so attached to um,
Right. Oh,
over
what a
over
beautiful
time.
story.
Yeah,
Yes. That appreciation of the environment. I mean, it taught you a lot, it sounds like. I mean, the
yeah,
experience. And now as principal here with Libertyville High School, you have an amazing Ecos Club and
right,
advanced
yeah.
environmental sciences. How does that view of the environment and the proximity to the lake, do you think impact future stewards of the environment through
Yeah,
Liberty.
I think it's huge. I think it's huge because obviously one of the concerns about children in today's world is we've removed them from nature, right? And that's through nobody's fault. It's just they're, especially urban or suburban kids, are growing up in an environment that is largely a human environment where the natural systems have either been erased or have been so domesticated that it's not a true natural system. We love being on Butler Lake because it allows us to use the lake as part of our school. It is a classroom for us. Our outdoor adventure classes go out there and kayak and fish. Our AP environmental science and biology classes go out and do um, all kinds of experiments on the lake quality, the water quality, the oxygen levels. They do life form sampling. They are restoring the shorelines of the lake and eradicating invasive species. So all of that gives kids the opportunity to see that as stewards, they don't have to save the rainforest to save the planet. They can find projects in their own backyards and in their own communities that make a considerable impact on the health of our natural environment and contribute overall to a world of healthy, safe, and sustainable environments for the future.
Right, so true. And to hear the passion in the children who I know you just did this native planting in addition to the shoreline restoration. And Sydney Clack came back and said, I've dedicated my whole career to environmental sciences because I was so inspired by the work we're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
and it's
go
and
ahead.
like that's the thing that I love about high school is the kids are very open to the kids are very environmentally conscious and they are hungry to make an impact. They want to make their mark in the world. They want to do something. So, yes, they want to learn, but they also want to do. And a lot of times adults, adults want to learn, but we are so busy and we just sometimes don't have the ability to do.
Mhm.
Even if we are voracious readers and things, we may not have the ability to go out and do things. Our high school kids are the perfect age because they want to learn, but they want to do. And when we give them projects, they not only will do those projects, they'll take them over. They'll get inspired by them and they want to lead. And so, um, our teachers were able, our philosophy is give the kids options, open their eyes to what's around them, and see where they catch fire. And when our kids catch fire on something, then they just go. And our job is just to control that fire and make it so that it can burn the right direction and not kind of fizzle out or not just kind of burn down the whole house, right?
Yeah.
um, but our kids, and it's funny because year after year we'll have different students who are interested in different things. One year I'll have a group of kids who are fascinated by solar, so my job is to help them do a solar project. And then the next year we'll have kids who are fascinated by plants and we'll do native plant restoration. uh, One, hopefully we'll get kids interested in aquaponics because we're ready to do on-site aquaponics at the school when we get kids who are interested and fascinated with that.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled about that. And I was laughing because I ran into kids who were filming the Ecos Club activities and they all had waders on. They had been in the lake
Yeah.
and they were carrying each other and chuckling and taking photos. And they said they're doing a cover story on Ecos coming up
Hmm.
in Your Drops of Ink, but also because of the rainwater harvesting opportunity, you have an internal garden where we're
Yeah.
hoping that Global Waterworks knows of some rainwater harvesting strategies that could show them how to better steward even and reuse water, which isn't so essential in this Midwest area, but it would
Hmm.
be cool just to have that closed loop ecosystem
Yeah.
as you suggested. So, and your takeaway as far as what you would hope the kids would get out of this. I know you and Jennifer view the kids as heroes. She says, oh my goodness, the kids just take things and run with them, as you say, but a lesson or given your experience, what would you
Yeah.
want them all to know?
Well, I think it's a couple little things. One is, I really do feel strongly that uh, a good thing about the United States is have worked hard to raise awareness about environmental issues, but oftentimes those environmental issues are focused on other parts of the world. And so the message can sometimes be we need to tell other people how to fix environmental problems that we believe are in fact affecting us. And one of the takeaways for our students is let's not focus on what other people need to do in their environment. Let's focus on educating ourselves and our communities on how to take care of our environment. And let's become a model of what it looks like to take care of your own house and keep your own yard clean, so to speak, metaphorically, rather than trying to tell other people how to take care of theirs. Because we know, like, for example, I used to work in Highland Park, and kids there would be, we want to save the rainforest. It's terrible what's happening to the rainforest. And I would say to them, do you realize you live in one of the most ecologically fragile and endangered environments on the planet, and that is an oak savanna. And you're so passionate about saving the rainforest, but our oak savanna is way more threatened than the rainforest is. And you could do something about that because it's your yard, it's your neighbor's yard, it's our parks, and it's our, Lake County forest preserves. So let's get involved there. And then the other piece is not just let's learn, but let's do. And that environmental action doesn't mean I have to strap myself to a tree or get on a Greenpeace ship and go sailing around the world to find whalers. I can go out in my yard. I can do things as a citizen scientist or a citizen conservationist that makes a very real impact and very real difference at the local level. And that if we can inspire other people to do the same, that's how we can affect change across the entire country and then ultimately the world.
Oh, so true. And that's a great segue to the initiatives going on right here with Lake County Lake Lovers. You were
Hmm.
one of our first members of that organization, you and Jennifer. And we so appreciate your leadership with the Green Schools. You've been award winners there. And
Hmm.
we do hope to feature an aquaponics briefing by you, Tom,
Hmm.
if you're willing. And also, I just want to reference a student of Libertyville High School right up the Bull Creek Waterway in St. Mary's. They will be implementing this biodredging system in the coming year to demonstrate that renewable water cycle that you
Yes.
described, where
Yeah.
enzymes, oxygen, plant and fish life work together to keep our waters
Hmm.
clean. And hopefully it'll benefit Butler Lake and we'll see the restoration of our lakes. But I know that the oak tree issues were actually referenced by Jim just recently with the challenge that he has maintaining all the oaks right there at St. Mary's
That's
University.
right. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I think people, aquaponics can be intimidating because I don't, some people don't want to deal with the fish, but hydroponics is it's not very easy, but you could take the fish out of it, and in Illinois, you can be extremely successful having a small outdoor hydroponic system that grows tremendous amounts of crops. I mean, quite frankly, my aquaponic system, I was growing overabundance of food. I had more food than and I had a family of five with three teenagers. I was constantly giving food away. It was super productive as a
wow.
system. Yeah.
Oh,
And so we can talk about in the when we do a tutorial, I'll show how I did it with aquaponics, but it's very easy to adapt that model to hydroponics. The other thing that I did was my aquaponic system was in my backyard and it needed to be attractive. So it needed to try to look like it blended as an environmental feature. Uh, that added extra work, but for people who are creative and artistic, that's a fun piece of it. But if
right.
you just want a basic, like, a lot of the Australians would have laughed at me because they're much more designing systems for, just food production where it doesn't need to look pretty. It just needs to work, in order to raise the fish and the food. So we
Mhm.
can talk all about those things as well. There's different options you have when you choose to do that system.
Right. Well, I know Paul and Kirsten Moss right here on the walkway around the Libertyville High School and the Butler Lake have a hydroponic system that is very productive, and we can go
Hmm.
snatch a bite as we go around the lake. But
Yes, it's great.
Yes, such
Yeah.
a pleasure to chat with you, to reconnect, and to see lake lovers and just environmentally friendly folks benefiting and reaping, the pleasure of being out in nature. As you said, it's
Yeah.
so important to have that connection and to see how it is restorative. And so,
Yeah, and I appreciate this, opportunity. Your organization is wonderful, and what we one of our acronym for our students is to be daring, and the D in that stands for dreamers and doers. And
mhm,
so our job as teachers, we want to help our kids create those big dreams, but
yeah,
then we don't just want to stick them with the dream. We want to empower them and inspire them to go and do. And through partnerships with organizations like yours, you're helping connect us to
mm,
other professionals who can provide our kids with so much more knowledge, information, and give them real world experiences to let them kind of live that environmental action and that conservation science that we're teaching them about and hoping that will catch fire with them. So thank you for all of your support of our students
yeah.
in our high school.
Yeah, well, it's mutual, and we're connecting drops of interest for waves of impact. And if you check out the links below this chat, you'll see other references to hydroponics around the globe. Global Waterworks has 2,700 members who are working on water efficient solutions, and you're absolutely right to look to Australia, Israel, India for those types of efficient ones, but make it happen locally, as you say,
Yeah.
Tom. So, and with
Yes.
students are the doers and our future for our
Yeah.
water. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Great to be with you. We'll have this
Absolutely. Thank
conversation
you.
in a few weeks.
All
Okay.
right. Take care.
Sure. Yep.
Bye.
See you. Bye bye.